And welcome back. And we're moving into our conversation now. Of course, with November 19th drawing near, we have representatives of the National Garifuna Council with us. We have President Cynthia Cayetano, and we have a youth member and also the reigning Miss Garifuna, Ruth Nunez. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. President Belize City Branch.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. Of course, we know that a lot of people probably are demanding your time because they want to get all these details about what's happening this weekend. But most importantly, it's a time to reflect on why the day is celebrated. Cynthia, talk to us about this year's theme.
Okay, this year's theme to me is so fitting. We find ourselves with a lot of division a lot of times, created sometimes by mischief, sometimes accidental division, but the theme talks about unity. It says, leader ye uwarni awansironi. Progress lies in unity. And how true is that? I reflect most importantly on our ancestors getting here. If they were divided, we would not be here. Because when they decided that they were going to be on that boat and they would have survived, no one said, you're not going to sit in this boat or you're not going to sit beside me. So I believe as a people, we need to unite. There's so much that we can do. There's so much more that we can achieve if we're united.
Now, let's bring it over to Ruth, talking about that particular theme. What does the theme mean for you?
To me, the theme means that everyone should get together, be loving, share one another, be kind to one another. And as Garifuna, I think that is very important because we are supposed to be together as a culture.
Yeah. Now, Cynthia, when we talk about the commemoration of Garifuna Settlement Day, I think a lot of times people seem to forget the historical context. What does the council do to ensure that younger members and everybody else are up to speed as to why we celebrate this day?
Well, generally we would do speeches to schools. Last week we had a lecture where we kind of discussed the history, and we also spoke about the spirituality. And in the past, National Garifuna Council had youth groups, and we're in the process of reviving the youth groups. In fact, there was a meeting this weekend there was a workshop really this weekend in Punta Gorda for the youths, and they were tasked to go back and revive the youth group. And so I feel good about it. In Belize City, we have a lot of youth involvement, which is very good. So like when you would go to our mass, you'd see a lot of youth being involved. And I like it. But more so now, we need them to understand their history, the history of Belize, because we're Belizeans. This is home. Yes, our ancestors came from St. Vincent with our African influence and what have you, but Belize is our home, and we need to learn our history. We need to learn who we are, and we need to let everyone know who we are.
Now, Ruth, as one of the youth members, tell me, and also the reigning Miss Garifuna, what prompted you to be involved at this level?
What prompted me is the love of my culture. You know, the kids, like, especially young people my age, they're not like into the Garifuna and like stuff like that. So I really like talking the language, love the dancing. I love to dance, by the way. Love everything about my culture. So like, it's just speaking to me.
And we know is it still a part of the pageant that you have to speak the language as well?
Parts of the pageant, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Ruth speaks Garifuna fluently.
Yeah, and I was going to ask that. How have you live in Belize City?
Yes.
Okay, how have you managed to be able to learn the language and speak it so fluently?
Well,
who's the main influence here?
My mom. Yeah. So Garifuna comes naturally to me, so it isn't a problem. And then I live with my sister, so speaking it is so like continuous to me.
I'm interested, you know, coming here I was thinking, because Ruth recently moved to Belize City from Hopkins.
Okay.
And she's going to UB. And I'm saying to myself, I said, you know what, for me it would be interesting to see Ruth 10 years from now. You know, because a lot of time like people would move, and I've had a lot of friends who've moved from Hopkins where they spoke Garifuna fluently every day, and they came here, they had kids, and sadly they didn't teach them to speak Garifuna. So it's something that I would want people to do.
And you know, I think that's the important part, and that's why I asked Ruth, who's the influence. But now we know you come from a community where you spoke it fluently. But when you're in a situation like being in Belize City, you know, you perhaps don't have as close contact with other persons that you can communicate with. What is it like to be able to continue to promote the language as a part of the preservation of the culture?
It's difficult because I'm happy that I'm always, well, like Ruth, we're around each other a lot. Like I said, she speaks fluently. Actually, she speaks better than me. I grew up in Punta Gorda, and for the most part, we didn't really speak Garifuna at home. She grew up speaking Garifuna, and like with her, which is good, like she said, she's with her sister, so they continue to speak Garifuna.
Yeah.
For me, whenever I meet others who speak Garifuna, I would speak to them in Garifuna. I have a very good friend who's a security at Brody's. And from the minute I walk through the door at Brody's, we're speaking Garifuna. Or even when I'm with Ruth, we speak Garifuna a lot. Like I try to, but it's not easy. And practically, we have to figure out a way to get it back. During our the discussion that we had, the panel discussion we had last week, I remember Roy Cayetano saying that more involvement has to come, maybe from the schools, to get involved in terms of teaching us the language. Sadly, education plays a role in why we lost our language, because back in the days they would tell you that when they went to school, the priests and the nuns and their other teachers would tell them they were not supposed to speak Garifuna at school. They were supposed to speak English. So the schools played a role in us losing pretty much. And so I think, and like Roy Cayetano rightly said, by right they should assist us in getting it back.
Now, it's also a part of maintaining tradition within your own families. I mean, you pointed out you'd love to see if Ruth, when she does have a family, will teach her children how to speak Garifuna. What did you say?
I will.
Definitely.
I definitely will. That's not
I'm so happy to hear that. And they do have some people that do here too.
And you have schools in the south too that are working with maintaining these aspects of the culture. But what's it like for you when you move to Belize City and you encounter other young people and they are not fluent in Garifuna?
To me, I like it actually, because then like when people ask me, Ruth, do you speak like fluent Garifuna? And like, yes, and they're like, oh, I want to hear talk to me in Garifuna. And then, okay, then I say like certain words and things like, it's so good feeling that I can talk Garifuna and not a lot of young people my age can do it around here. Yeah. So I really like it.
Do you try to teach them?
Sure. Yes.
And they want to learn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
now, I want to come back to the theme because I think it is important. When you talk about progress lies in unity, and you very clearly said this is a time where you need to unite. As Belizeans, as Garifuna, what do you find to be the greatest challenge in building this unity at this time? From both your perspectives, youth and from working at the council.
From my perspective, I'd say people have just created, I still am trying to find where all the division has started from. Yeah. And there's an old adage where in the Garifuna community where they talk about Gapengsli and Mapengsli. That just speaks about persons who are more educated than others. That in itself created a rift. And I think it's from both angles, and I'll give you the both angles. One, the Gapengsli, those are the ones who are educated. Gapengsli literally translates to have pencil.
Okay.
Right? But
so if you have a pencil, it's educated.
You're educated, right? Yes, there were some of those who spouted their education all over the place and let people know that they were well educated, us being #1 educators in the country back in the day. And so the ones who didn't get the education, whereas some persons made them feel lower than them, but also I think it from their angle, they developed a wall also, thinking that everyone who has an education will look down on them, and that's not the case. Recently I was thinking about Gwen Eunice Gonzalez. I love Gwen, and one of the things that I like about Gwen has a doctorate degree, but I've never heard her say, address me as doctor. And there are a lot of people who don't. I have a degree from 1994. Most people won't even know that because I don't walk around with my degree. I've never written Cynthia Cayetano, BSc or B whatever, you know. So sometimes it's more imaginative than anything else. And a lot of time we create division from imaginations.
Now, let's hear your perspective from a younger Garifuna.
From a younger perspective, when it comes to the division, to me, when it comes to a younger one, like, I don't know, I don't think that there's a lot of division. It's just that the parent doesn't teach their younger ones Garifuna. So, like, I don't really blame the younger ones, and sometimes it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Sometimes they really want to speak the language. Like, even their parents, their parents are Garifuna and they really want to, but then, like, they can't.
Yeah. So you find that the younger generation just simply are not being taught some of the cultural aspects. You know, it's a very interesting time too, if we reflect on the past couple of years where there have been several issues brought forward by the Garifuna community where you felt perhaps discriminated in some way. So I appreciate how your theme speaks to working towards progress and remembering that that comes with unity. Now, recognizing division is important, but then how do you work to build it? And how do you work to build this, those who know and understand the culture and know the language and help those who don't? And how do you build a bridge between that perceived divide?
I think building the bridge is creating trust. Okay. That's the first thing that you need to do. You create trust, let people understand that I'm not in this, because a lot of time people think, oh, you're in this for financial reasons. You always hear people say, oh, they're Garifuna for convenience. No, and we have to stop looking at that. And we have to start looking out for each other. And that's us as a people, that's how we are. For example, I know a lot of people find it strange, like if I'm at home and my relative is coming, we'll expect that that person is going to stay with us. That's the way we are. That's how we grew up, even as kids, that's how. And so we need to get back to some of these things and stop thinking about ourselves as individuals. And we start to look out for each other, and that's how we are. And in terms of talking about progress, for our team, it doesn't only look at Garinagu, it also looks at us as Belizeans, because progress lies in all of us. Whether you're Garifuna, Creole, Mestizo, whatever your ethnicity is, that we need to bond with each other, work with each other in order to achieve progress.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on that, because that was going to be my next point, that it's also about building unity between respecting each other's culture and the differences in cultures in the country, but that we all come together to work towards building a better Belize.
Exactly. And I remember last week I made a post and I spoke about slavery. Technically, Garinagu were never physically enslaved, but we were mentally enslaved. And mental slavery is more difficult to deal with. And why do I say mental slavery? We were taught to distrust people of our own skin color who are not of our ethnicity. We were taught that the Creoles didn't like the Garinagu, and the Creoles were taught that the Garinagu are devil worshippers, they like obia. And it was done for us, the divide and conquer. In our own culture, we have this too, where you have people from Dangriga would say, oh, PG people would say, oh, Dangriga people don't like PG people don't like Dangriga. And it's stupid. We're all one. Yeah. We're all one. For me, it doesn't make any sense. I lived in Dangriga for 9 years. I'm originally from PG. I lived in Dangriga for 9 years, and I never found myself as being different. I'm a Belizean. I'm a human being. God made me in his likeness. I'm happy to say that he made me Garifuna. And I'm proud to be who I am. One of my friends tell me that she think my pride almost borders on arrogance. I have never wanted that to be, because I'm proud of who I am, but I don't want to be arrogant about it. But I'm happy that I could speak Garifuna, that I understand Garifuna, that my kids understand most of it, that I dress in my Garifuna outfit, I cook my Garifuna food every week, and I know to dance. So, but like I said, we need to look at it as one, because we're Belizeans, we're human beings. We have to get rid of all the mental slavery. We're human beings.
And Ruth, you know, it's an interesting transition from you coming from Hopkins to Belize City. And, you know, I think we love to see how you are so proud of your culture. What is it like for you coming into the setting here in Belize City, especially? It's when it comes to showing your appreciation for your culture.
Well, coming here, it was really hard, but the transition, I like it, because me, I'm a person, like, since I love my culture, I made myself, okay, I think I will find a Garifuna dance group or something to put me in the Garifuna feeling. So
you found the council as fast as you could.
I found it, because like I want to feel at home as much as possible. Yeah. So the transition is not all that bad, because I really love my culture, so I would do anything to find it.
And tell us about your journey to Miss Garifuna. She's being shy about it.
My journey to Miss Garifuna, to me, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
I love the experience, and I wrote my own speech right away.
You did?
Yes. And then
and what was the message behind your speech?
About young men not getting an higher education.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then it was so great, because then I like hear people, oh, I love your speech. And then like, I'm so proud to say I wrote my own speech.
Yeah. Why was that your message?
Because now, like, I don't see a lot of young men, Garifuna men, in school, like getting a higher education. So that was the first thing that popped up into my head when I hear a speech. And then someone advised me to, like, when you do a speech, make sure that your speech, you and your speech have a connection, you know? You talk through your speech. So that was my way of talking to people through how I feel about it.
I like that you're actually looking out beyond your own personal experience to those who need to rise up and continue to better themselves.
And you know, not taken away from anybody, I think she's the only one who wrote her own speech.
Oh, wow. So, and the Garifuna, and you know, you have found as the council different ways to be able to try to promote and maintain the culture, and we know the pageant is one of that. Tell me about some of the elements of the pageant that are meant to promote the Garifuna culture and preserve the Garifuna culture.
Well, one, the pageant focuses a lot on the dancing. Of course, it does also
traditional dancing.
Yeah, traditional Garifuna dancing. Okay. Not Punta Rock. It's traditional Punta, the Gunjai, the Chumba, the different dances. So even if the ladies, they didn't know to dance the dances before, they learn.
Okay.
In most cases, they already know the dances. It also touches on the, of course, the speech, which is good. And from another, there's an aspect of it that speaks on Garifuna, though. It means how well you are with being Garifuna. And I remember in the past, like a lot of time in the past, people used to talk about, like, they would give demonstration in terms of cooking food. So all of that. But one of the things that I love in terms of our culture, that to me the only thing that is dying is the language, because when it comes to the dances, people don't ask about the outfits. Listen,
we're going to get into that.
I get people calling me all day. Where can I need a seamstress? Can I find a seamstress? Where can I find? And every seamstress that I know are book solid.
Everybody wants a special. I don't want to get into that, because we have an outfit segment coming up in just a bit. But let's talk about the dance. So last week, for example, we closed off the show with the punta. And I asked you for punta because that's the only dance I can do. But there are several others.
Yes.
Right? Ruth, you go ahead and tell us the different types of traditional dance.
They have the chumba.
The chumba.
gunjai.
What's the chumba for?
The chumba is just, what's the chumba for?
It depicts everyday life.
Ah.
And generally from a more traditional perspective, so you would have seen like people would do
Like
people
hang-
fishing
yeah.
or washing
Uh-huh.
and pinning out their clothes. You see them cooking, and people have become so creative. Like for our national pageant, there was this chumba that particularly caught me. The young lady who won did this chumba, where she showed the difficulty in terms of being a parent and at home mother. She was taking care of her baby and cooking at the same time, but the baby is crying, then she has to go and take care of the baby. It really and truly depicts
Yeah.
everyday life.
There's
and whatever
a
you
lot
think.
of replay of the things that you do in your everyday life
Yes.
that you spoke of.
So much so that even some of the negative things in terms of I've seen where they done chumba where someone is drunk. You know, it's really and truly everyday life.
Yeah. So
Really
you have
and
chumba,
Gunjai,
gunjai.
punta.
What's the gunjai for?
Gunjai is for,
When do
It's
you?
more like a formal dance,
Yeah,
more like a formal. It's because, like, for example, like when we do the gonja, the young ladies are nicely dressed and you know they hold their skirt a certain way. It's a graceful dance. It's
Yeah.
more a graceful dance. And then you have the hugu hugu,
good, yeah.
which is
Yeah.
very is more a sacred dance, and that's the main dance. That's the dance that's really done at the temple when
Yeah.
you have the ceremony.
Yeah, and they told me that the hugu is also shows the fertility of women. When you dance, like you hold your hand like this to show the fertility of Garifuna women.
Okay.
You know, I learned something
See?
because I didn't
That
know
was what I was struggling to do last week, remember? And then we have
The punta, which you already know how to do.
trust me, nothing like you ladies, but I could get by. And you have your jonkono,
Yes,
Yeah.
and you have my favorite, the paranda.
the paranda. There you go. And you know, I wanted to get into that just because I think sometimes people don't understand that it's not Punta Rock. That's the main dance, and that there are certain traditions behind the types of drumming that they'll hear and the dances that go along with it. But now we're going to talk about the differences with the clothing. And so we're going to shift over. And I know you ladies brought quite a lineup as to what traditional clothing may entail, right? So let's shift over.
We went from traditional to more modern.
Well, we'll talk about that because I know now there's some updated versions
Yes.
as to how people will wear their clothing, right? So let's head on over there. All right. And of course, we'll have to get into the issue of whether or not, what type of activities people have planned for this weekend. Here we
Definitely.
go.
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay.
She's how she walk into. So
We have an array of clothing
we
here.
do have an array. Do we start with this first?
Okay, well, let me do something because
Yeah.
I need to demonstrate.
I know we
This
do
is
have to
really
put
a
it
gown.
Yeah.
This is really a gown, and this one is done in the traditional yellow, black, and white, the colors of our flag. And yes, so this would be the gown, and this would be the skirt. And if you notice, the gown is generally long, that it can be worn by
itself.
also. And traditionally, Garifuna women mainly wear gowns.
Okay.
They mainly wear gowns, and I've known where I learned from my mentor and the late great Maura Lopez that like when women were pregnant, they would wear the gown and then they would drape like the skirt like halfway across their body because you know it served a dual purpose. Generally, and this is mainly what women would wear daily, and like in particular like when they're going to the farms.
Yeah.
Then you have
So you have daily use kind of clothes.
yes, and then you have like these ones which are more the formal and the dressier, which is the manning.
This is the one with the little peplum around the waist,
Yes,
right?
yes. That's the
Obviously, this isn't
manning.
meant for my size, but yeah. This is a child's outfit.
Yeah, that's a child. Like so see that, and I brought like a number of those. And you'd notice that these ones are not necessarily in the in our traditional colors.
I wanted to get at that. And not only that, there's some very specific styling that you would use, right? Which is the different color to the top, the waist and the
But
lining.
these days, people pretty much do, and that's why I said would have gone from there to the modern. And if you look like
Tell us
at
about
what
this.
Ruth has on, you notice it's
Let's go.
sleeveless.
Miss Garifuna, let's see your full outfit here. Uh-huh.
Sewn by her mom.
Okay. Did you design it? Did you tell your mom what you want?
Sometimes, but I didn't design this one.
Okay.
But you know what? Some people does too. Like my mom, like she get like draw out some like Garifuna things like the drums, the shaka,
That's the
and
more
she
modern.
actually sew it on
She
the
embroiders it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you notice, like this one here, it has like almost like some
Yeah,
flowers,
see?
something like that, right? And this, as far as I know, to me, like a lot of this is more from our influence from our relatives from Guatemala and Honduras. They do a lot of this.
They wear what?
Yeah, like the embroidery
They
and
do
the
more
all the
embroidery.
more modern outfit. And we're getting into it now where we have reached a point where we're doing a lot of modern, you know. For me,
So
I love it because the sky's the limit.
Yeah. What's more traditional about it is the cut.
Yeah.
The material and the colors now are becoming more modern, as you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's the mixture between the
And
plain and the
if you
pattern
notice,
and the cut.
This skirt here, this is a skirt that would come out wide.
Okay.
And in Garifuna, you'd say it's chaga, it's wide.
Uh-huh.
But they also have where you had people who sew skirts that
Chaga.
were not really wide, but they were like shapely, like they're, you know, like gore. This would call gore.
So, okay, yeah, so this one is pleated.
Yeah.
So it'll be wider.
Yes. And that's generally how most of our
Skirts. Like your one is pleated, so it can
Yes.
be wider, right?
But if you notice, this one is not pleated, so
This
it's
one is just A-line.
Yeah, it's an A-line, and
Ah.
they call it in Garifuna gore.
So this would be everyday use and that would be dressier?
Yeah, this would be more dressier. So, and sometimes it come with pleats, and other time you notice there's no pleats here. And of course, we cannot leave out the men.
Yeah, yes.
Wait, what is this one?
That one is a gown too.
Okay.
See, this is a gown. And then it goes, like I tell you, it can go without.
So you wear
The
it
skirt.
without it, or you put the skirt over it?
Generally, people like if they're like the
At
women are at
home.
home, they'd wear the gown just
Yeah.
like that. But if they're going out, they would put on the
Put on
skirt.
this. Man, this is beautiful.
I know. I like my gown. I stay with mine. Yes,
All
I
right,
was.
let's talk about the men.
I also expressed that we go all the way to the modern. So things like these are more modern.
Wow.
These are more modern.
This isn't for men now.
I like
No,
the
that's
This is really fancy.
Yeah, and this one
was
is-
for the
notice-
black and yellow ball, maybe.
and it's, you know, this one is like a pencil skirt
Yeah.
almost.
But in
But
the
it has
traditional
that-
colors.
Yes, in the traditional colors. Because we've realized that the sky is the limit, so we've gotten to that point where we've. And then these are the dashiki. Like this is more from our African influence. You'd notice, like you'd see like African
Yeah.
people wearing, and general, like this is a big craze in the States right now.
I know.
Dashiki.
And this is?
That's like more like a traditional Garifuna dashiki.
So if they would just switch this out for the black, yellow, and white, it would be the same cut. This is the basic cut for the dashiki.
Actually, yeah, this is the basic cut for the dashiki. And in most cases would be the traditional. And then you know people do all kind of fancy
I know.
work on it.
Does
but
it come
generally-
with pockets, the traditional dashiki?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the embroidery around the arm and the neck
and the pocket?
and the pockets.
More traditional, but now like I explained to you, the sky is the limit.
So
People-
now everybody custom makes their
Oh,
own
yes.
outfit for the 19. You already put in your
yes.
order?
Of course.
So there you have it. So I think you know what I seem to understand is that the shape of it is set, but now you play with it as
Oh,
your
yes.
personality feels fit.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay.
And in more traditional, people more wear these little checkers. And I realized that the reason why it's so long, I have had this outfit over 20 years.
Wow. And it doesn't look like it's 20 years old.
And I wear it regularly because sometimes
Yeah.
I like to wear my gowns.
And
at
then they
home.
have the yellow that
Yeah.
you see very often
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So, my final question, the most important one. What's happening for this weekend?
What's happening for this weekend? We start in Belize City. Friday night, we'll be at the Mexican Institute.
Okay.
Starting at 7 p.m. We're having an award ceremony where we're saying thanks to 6 wonderful Belizeans, residents of Belize City who have been there for us. We have Mrs. Juliana Arana, Mrs. Marty Kane, Mrs. Gregoria Petio, and these three ladies, they're as Garifuna as they come, and they're also members of the choir. They will have a member of our executive who have been working timelessly, Marietta Enriquez, and we have two wonderful gentlemen, Mr. Domingo Lewis. He always helping with the Rome time in memoriam, and then we also have the ombudsman who has supported us over the years with the pageant and everything. So we're just telling them thanks. So we've linked up with the Mexican Institute. That's Friday night at the Mexican Institute. Everyone's welcome to come. Mr. Cayetano is going to speak. Mr. Sebastian Cayetano is going to speak first and foremost on the history of the Garinagu, have a little discussion. We'll present the awards and we'll have some entertainment, drumming and little snacks.
So that's Friday night.
That's Friday night. Okay. Saturday night we start at the BTL Park at 10 p.m. We have who just won the Battle of the Drums, the Larabea. They'll be the one taking us out straight through till 4:30.
What?
Yes. And we have our drummers
so you have
also.
the star drummers for this year because they won the Battle of the Drums.
But we have our star drummers here too, our guys who have been drumming for some time.
You don't get in trouble?
Yes, but listen, I know these guys are really good. So we have a lot of drummers. We'll have drumming. We'll be at BTL Park. So from 10 straight through until morning, what we call Bowlaruga in Garifuna, till morning, till sunrise. And then we have the Eurome, which we'll have the 19th morning at Belcan Bridge. So Eurome will be received at Belcan Bridge at 6:15 a.m. We have to do it earlier this year. 6:15, the Eurome. We have a parade over to the church, to the St. Martin de Porres Church. The service starts at 7, and you should be through with that by 9. Then from there, we move on from the church over to BTL Park, and the official ceremony starts at 10. And after the official ceremonies, the crowning of the queen and everything, we're going to have the Larabea is going to join us once again. And we have bashment until 6 when the police say it's time to go. And we're hoping that, people will come out and support. And also today, if people have time, we linked up with Mr. Enriquez. I think he was here yesterday. We collaborated with him, so he has his book launching today, 10 o'clock at UWI, which is going to be real interesting.
Okay. So there we have it, the full lineup for the 19th weekend in Belize City. Cynthia, thank you. Ruth, thank you. We appreciate it. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be cooking up some bundiga with Chef Ainsley, so stay tuned.